So there's waves going all across Paris at the moment. Neymar's on his way out. The new manager's coming in. It's all happening. We've got back on the channel, resident expert at Ligue 1, the host of the Breaking the Lines podcast, Jeremy. Jeremy, thanks a lot for joining us, my man.
Thanks for having me, Queenie. Waves going on in Paris for sure. It's scary.
Big time. And like when I seen the news kind of breaking, like the early kind of rumors, like, oh, it looks like Luis Campos he wants him and Mbappe, or like they want Galtier to come in, and that's the kind of way they want to carry the team going forward. I was like, that could be really interesting. Wasn't too sure if it would happen because he wasn't really that long in at Nice, but now he's basically there at this point, and it's a real sea change from the last bunch of appointments from PSG. The Tuchels, the Pochettinos, Unai Emery. And even Zidane was heavily linked to this. So it is a real different appointment. From the type.
Yeah, it's less. It's less blingy, right? It's less the big name, and Zidane was rumored for the longest time. I mean, one of the French football specialists back home, sort of like had insider information that it was going to be Zidane, regardless of what anybody was saying, and supposedly players like Neymar knew that it was going to be Zidane who was to be his next coach. So it was a bit of a shock when eventually it wasn't Zidane, and I think the situation with the French national team did a bit to that. But yeah, Neymar is playing poker for the past week or so. Apparently, he was saying during the tournament to anybody who wanted to listen that he's so looking forward to seeing Zidane as his coach. So it was a bit of an emotional roller coaster for PSG fans because Zidane is, an icon in Marseille, and it would have been weird to have him as a coach for PSG. But Galtier is born in Marseille and he's worn the Marseille jersey, and he's been in charge of the youth teams in Marseille before he went on to his career. And people clearly don't respect him as much as they respect Zidane. So it's a bit of a weird vibe in Paris, knowing that now it's almost official. Galtier is going to be the coach. Lucien Favre was announced at Nice. Luis Campos wanted to work with Galtier from the moment that he was appointed. His title is like special counselor. At PSG, he's not the sporting director; he's the consigliere. So he always wanted Galtier to come in, and now he has him. It's different. El Khalifi gave that whole press conference once he said that Zidane was not going to come and coach, saying, the bling bling is over, and now it's the era of artwork, and we're not going to spend that much money anymore, and we're going to focus on the identity of Paris and the football and blah, 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 which is a nice way to say, in fact, Zidane said no, so now I have to work a plan B. But having Galtier coming in, it's criticized. It's pretty heavily criticized actually in France. Like the guy hasn't stepped a foot at the Parc des Princes yet, and everybody's saying that he's going to fail. But I think no one is ever as dangerous as they are when you expect them to fail. It's going to be the first time that he takes a team that is supposed to be successful. His success with Saint-Etienne and with Lille, where picking up a team that's struggling and bringing them back up. With Nice, it was supposed to be a project. Whatever happened during that year, there was a lot of word about things going on in the background that supposedly is the reason why he couldn't succeed. Now he's not going to have a lot of time. Like if he loses a game within the first 4 games, people are going to be on his back because they already are there. So it's an interesting choice. Obviously you would always say no to Paris when they come and get you, but it's an interesting choice because he's going to be under a lot of pressure straight away. And when 1 month ago Mbappe signs and it's the era of the new Paris Saint-Germain, and Mbappe is now at the head of the project, I don't think anybody was expecting a coach who in his trophy cabinet just has one Liga to come and take over at PSG.
I find it surprising that you think that you're telling me that everyone in France expects him to fail, because I've got a really high opinion of the guy over the last 2 or 3 seasons. I've observed him from afar, if you like, and I think with some of the core minerals that they have in that team and the centre back positions and in the midfield, like I think if he gets them all running in a line together, then he could be a great coach for them. When you say if he loses one of the first 4, 5, 6 games or whatever, people will be on his case. Is that wider France we're thinking, or is that the PSG fans?
I think it's both, but I think it's the PSG fan a lot. I mean, Paris doesn't care about Ligue 1. Like Ligue 1 is the strict minimum. Ligue 1 is waking up and being on your feet. They want to win the Champions League. So I think the expectations was get a coach who's won the Champions League, or get a coach who has the experience of winning international games, or somebody who can come in and can have immediate respect from his locker room just for the guy that he is. And obviously Zidane is the perfect guy for that. He's a legend and he's won everything as a player and as a coach. So when if he would have signed and come in, everybody would just listen to him. There's definitely fear that Galtier will come in and will not know how to handle Messi, will not know how to handle Neymar if he stays, or Mbappe, or any of those players. So there's he's going to start with like 6 feet behind anybody else, and I really think that if he loses game one, that's going to be a big issue. If he loses another game within 10 games, I wouldn't be surprised if they call an early sack, because it's a weird gamble for Luis Campos and for El Khalifi to call a guy like Galtier. They're not putting him in the best position because he needs to get results straight away. And a coach like Zidane, or a coach like even Pochettino, when he arrived, because we saw it, there would have been given, and he was given, Pochettino, 6, 7, 8, 9 months of grace. We know that you're a good coach. It's okay if you're not doing well. The team is playing like shit, but it's okay because we've seen what you've done at Tottenham, and you can bring a team to the Champions League final, so it's all right. Galtier hasn't done any of that. I mean, PSG fans may be forgotten that when Galtier was running Lille, he beat PSG 4-0. So he's still okay at what he does. But yeah, he's definitely got a target on his back from the get go. If I know a guy who's born in Marseille, if you put him in front of a situation that seems impossible, it's probably where he's going to shine the most. And he's somebody who has a pretty great aura and who doesn't take bullshit. So it's going to be about how much is trusted by Luis Campos, it's a given, but by Nasser Al Khelaifi, because Galtier walks in the locker room and sees a guy like Neymar not training, he's going to back at him. He's going to, he's going to say in the media stuff about his players, like he did at Nice, like he did at Lille. If that doesn't fly and Galtier is not backed up by El Khelaifi, then that's going to be a problem for him. If is El Khelaifi the past 10 years has always backed the players, and that's been the issues in the locker room in Paris. No coach could succeed because the players had more power than the coach, and now you're bringing a coach that doesn't even have the aura or the success that the other coaches have. So you got to hope that they really change their whole mindset about who's the priority and what's the priority, because if it's the same as it's been before, I don't see how Galchi can succeed. So El Khalifi, I've said it on your pod before, to me is a bit of the issue at Paris anyway. Hopefully he's changed, he's learned. He doesn't have Leonardo anymore. Hopefully he's going to learn and listen to Luis Campos, and then Galtier will have plenty of time. But yeah, make no mistakes. In France, it's a choice that is pretty badly criticized, and it's not the best way for Paris to jump into this new era, because you're bringing in players that for the Paris fan have a better palmarès, a better story than Galtier ever had as a player, and they expected a coach that would have lifted the team to be better with just he being himself and with his name. That's not what they're having. We'll see. I'm comfortable that he's going to do well, but he's definitely got a bit of pressure on his shoulder already.
I kind of, I find a lot of that's quite surprising, because I thought the kind of vibe that I get from Galtier, and especially from like let's chatting with you before, is that, like you said there, like he doesn't take any bullshit, and that's been kind of the problem with PSG when they get to the thick end of it. Is the guy that just will not fold, the guy that will not blink. So I think he offered. I was actually thinking again there when you were explaining that to me, like what does if Galtier is successful at PSG, what does that look like for the team, if you know what I mean? And I think about the best team I've seen him have is Lille, and they don't have a Yilmaz, they don't have a Yazici, so playing that kind of 4-4-1-1 kind of idea probably isn't going to work. But if they do bring in like Renato Sanchez, which is heavily rumoured, there's a lot of like similar, like if you think about at Lille, like Selic on the right back, and I can't remember who the left back was, but they had a really good left back.
They had Bradaric and
Bradrick,
Renildo.
yeah. And Reinaldo, yes. So, really good fullbacks that went on and attacked. And, so I think there's some, I think, the style of play that he's done well with, and obviously it's not been done at the Champions League level, of course, but I think as long as he can get the team like in a shape, in a song, and like, just a bit more cutthroat, because that Lille team, like we spoke about, like they won games in the 90th minute, the 94th minute, the 98th minute. They didn't give up at any stage. That was really how they won the league. It wasn't because they blew teams away. It's just that like they had so many crucial moments like that. So, what in your opinion, like if Galtier, like let's imagine it does work out, what does it look like for PSG? What do PSG look like?
It depends how it works out. Like what you're saying is exactly what PSG fans are unhappy about. Galtier is known Galtier is known to win games at the 90th minute, and if he doesn't play well, he wins anyway.
Yeah,
Paris wants to win and play well the whole way. Like Paris wants to be
yeah,
City and Liverpool and those kind of teams. They don't want the guy who doesn't want to play football but just win games. They really don't want that. They'd rather lose and play badly than win and just defend and just score at the 90th minute, because it's what happened this year all year. That kind of football, that kind of sort of negative football. So that's one of the reasons why Galtier is already criticized, because except at Saint Etienne and a little bit at Lille, probably the first 6 months of the title season, because the first 6 months he went up there, and then the second 6 months he just defended it. We've seen him playing positive, but besides that, we've seen a lot of negative football. Like Nice, there was games against Paris, against Marseille, where he really played well, and the rest of it was parking the bus basically and playing counter attack. And PSG fans are afraid of that. But again, you have not seen Galtier in a situation where he doesn't have to focus on defense. We haven't seen that for a long time. When you're at PSG, the defensive part, I mean, sure, you need to make sure that they're good, but you can concede 5 goals, you're going to score 8, so that's fine.
yeah.
So we haven't seen that. We haven't seen him unleashed and being able to create something. We haven't seen him really putting in place his what his offensive philosophy could be. It's hard to see, with experience what it could look like, because he was an assistant coach of Alain Perrin, and then of I can't remember the guy, another Lyon coach. Anyway, he was an assistant coach for a while of coaches that were not the most fun and creative coaches. But then in Saint Etienne, we've seen him playing a bit of offensive football. So that's what it's going to be about. And like I said, I understand where all the critics come from. I'm fairly comfortable that he's going to do well, because he's going to apply the same ideas that he's always had, as far as he's a great man manager. So he's going to be able to put the team with him. He's probably going to come with that, because he's got a bit of humility still. He's going to be humble with the Neymars and the Messi and the Mbappe, being like, look, maybe you don't think that I'm good, just bear with me. Let's see how we can work together, and we're going to be all right. But then he's also going to be like, you got to work hard, you got to work hard, you got to work hard. And for once, he's facing players that will all want to work hard, because 90% of them are getting ready for the World Cup. So that's going to be something very interesting. That's going to be something very new for Galtier, and that's probably the main fear for the PSG fan, that it's it's an experience, it's an experiment, and PSG fan didn't want an experiment. Will the team look like his 4-4-2 that we've seen at Lille? I don't think so. That we've seen at Nice? I don't think so either. I think, to start with, you're going to have Mbappe, you're going to have Messi, you're going to have another striker in there, because they're trying to find a big name there. They've recruited what's his name, Vitinha, the midfielder. So he's going to be there. You're going to have a guy like Verratti. You're going to have somehow a six that's a bit more or a defensive six, and it's probably going to be Renato Sanchez. And I think he's going to keep his line of 4 defender, because in Ligue 1 there's no point playing a 3-5-2 when you're Paris, because you're always going to be the one with the ball. So you can play a 4-4-2 and play with only 2 center backs, and everybody else can go up. It's about getting ready for the Champions League that 3-5-2 can come in. But I think we're going to see him probably for the first time experimenting a little bit more with his tactics than what we've seen, because Saint Etienne, after the first couple of years, Lille and Nice, it was always 4-4-2, 4-4-2, 4-4-2. That becomes maybe a 4-2-3-1 offensively, but it was always that tactic that he really enjoyed. So he's going to have to change that, and I'm sure he will change that, because for him it's an opportunity that he doesn't want to miss either. And he's a smart guy. And when you play with Messi and Mbappe, you also kind of know that, well, there's no tactic. Like the it's about
Get
putting your
them.
team in position. Guys can do what they do, right? There's no point trying to do a tactic as long as you have something defensively that you can anticipate that Messi is not defending and that Mbappe is defending a minimum. Um, there's no need to have a lot of tactics around that when you have the ball. So it's really going to be interesting to see Paris Saint-Germain. I think we're going to see new tactics experimented by Galtier. I hope for him that it works out because, like I said, it's not going to last long if it doesn't work out. But it's if it's really a new era of PSG, um, it'll be fascinating. Let's see if they can really do that because, yeah, as we're going to mention, if you want to get rid of Neymar, it's not going to be easy.
You set it up perfectly for me there. That's exactly what I was going to say. It cannot be a new era with Neymar still there because Neymar is this era, I think, isn't he? What get me really up to speed here. What is it that's really pushed this situation forward? Is it just those comments from Al Khalifi, or has something else happened alongside it? Because it just felt to me that it was those comments, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I might go to Juventus, and I was like, where did this all come from? You know?
I think the word in France is that it all comes, and I'm sure that's never going to be told as the truth, but it kind of all comes from Mbappe. When Mbappe decides to sign his new contract and he says, "I want to be, the center of the project, and I want to build something around me," da 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 da. Da. Like at the end of the day, you have to look at the team and how it's made, and it's either Neymar becomes the player that he was at Barcelona, where he's happy to work for somewhere else and he's happy to actually work hard for somewhere else, or he's got to go because you already have Messi, who has more talent than stamina or than speed, at least when he plays with Paris. With Argentina, all of a sudden he's 20 years old again. But you can't have that many, and we've seen it this season. It was hard when you had Di Maria, Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe. Then you only had three people defending, and that's not sustainable. So supposedly that's where it happens when Mbappe talks to El Khalifi to try and get his contract renewed. There are some guaranteed that are offered to Mbappe that the team is going to be able to compete. And in that conversation, there's Luis Campos and there's a coach, which from what I understand, even Mbappe was kind of told is probably Zidane. There's a coach that's going to come in and that is going to make the team play the way they should be playing, and nobody is going to get any more, how do you say in English, like laissez-faire, or if you don't want to work hard, it's fine, and you have to go to your birthday, it's fine. Blah, blah, blah. So that happened, and then in the meantime, you have an interview from Neymar that comes out where he says something like, if we can't even celebrate the birthdays of our mothers or of our sisters, then what's the point of living in this world, or blah blah blah. So Neymar is obviously in a different speed than what a professional footballer should be. Like you're wondering if he even wants to be a professional footballer anymore and make all
Yeah.
the sacrifices that a professional footballer should do. I mean, he's got the talent, so that's awesome. He doesn't even need to work hard to score plethora of goals and to be as good as he is, but to be in the team that will win the Champions League and to actually contribute, you gotta have to work hard somewhere, and apparently he's not keen on doing that. So all those pieces put together, I think, eventually brought the rumors in, and I think the rumors are also probably a way to taste the market, to see how's the market reacting to this. Word about Chelsea because Neymar and Tuchel have the same agent, Zahavi. But I don't. But with what Tuchel said about Neymar when he signed at Chelsea first, and he said it was impossible to manage him. I doubt they're going to work together again, but who knows? But
Yeah.
money's money, I guess. Money talks.
Fair point.
But yeah, words about Juventus, and then when you look at it, I was checking just before we started. He's paid 4 million a month. Who can afford that? Newcastle, and that's probably it. And he's
Wow.
got a 5-year contract. His contract is until 2027. So, you know, I'm sure Paris won't mind sending him almost for free. But it looked like a pretty shitty piece of business. If you buy the guy 200 million, you gave him a big contract, you gave him a second big contract, 4 million a month, and then he's going to walk out on a free because, maybe they'll cut their loss if he walks out on a free. But they'll still ask a bit of money. So now a team needs to come in and put if we talk generous, put 50 million on the table at least, and then for the next 4 years or something like that, if you want to match what PSG was giving him, you're gonna have to fork out 50 millions for a guy who doesn't look like he wants to be a professional anymore. So I think
Yeah.
it's a big ask to push Neymar. Obviously, I don't know him personally, but you would hope that any team that wants to get him, you would hope that when they talk to him, Neymar says something along the lines of, I fucked up and I didn't play well, and now I really want to show that I'm the best. That's the only way I think a club would bet on Neymar right now, if there's like a gentleman agreement that he's going to be a professional, because that's not what he's been the past few years.
I think in Europe, I'm just thinking across you, like there's no one in Germany that picks him up. There's no one in Spain that picks him up, And then Italy, it's only really Juventus to have the PR power to get Neymar in, I think, Then it is Newcastle, like no one else in the Prem is going to pick up Neymar. Maybe Man United if they were still being a bit foolish, but I think they're trying to put those days behind them, They've just got rid of Pogba. They don't want another headache like that, I don't think. But stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
So it is a case that, like, I even heard rumours, or I had a conversation with somebody recently, and they were saying it's not beyond the realms of possibility that Neymar retires from football after the World Cup. And, like, would he even pull a bail and just go to MLS for like £1 million and just go, I'll hang out in LA Galaxy? Because there's a lot of pressure at them now since the LAFC have pulled up. So that's all just kind of coming to me as I'm thinking. But it's a good rumour to invent.
I mean, we're not in his head, but why wouldn't you? If you don't want to like work hard to win the Champions League and you still want to have your fun and actually play well, go to the MLS. Like you should go to the MLS. It's not going to be the same level of professionalism, even though they're trying to get there. People are going to accept that you're not doing. I'm exaggerating, but that you're not doing much, and that you're focusing on whatever else, and then you show up at training and you show up in the game and you score. Well, he still score like 15 goals a season by playing only 20 games. So he's not doing nothing.
Yeah.
And I think for him it's a win-win, because maybe he's not going to make the same amount of money, but he's not going to have the same amount of pressure, and he can actually enjoy. I mean, again, we've said that before, but if you're Neymar, like what happiness do you get from playing at PSG right now? You're getting booed by your own fans. Everybody's saying that you're making too much money. Everybody's saying that you're a waste. Promise. Where's the happiness of actually playing the sports that you love if you not sure you want to commit, and everybody's reminding you that you're not good enough at what you're doing because the expectations were so big. So I hope for him that he finds somewhere a way to get a bit of that happiness back. Maybe he comes back to training and he's like, right, this season I won a great World Cup, so I'm going to regret with Paris Saint-Germain. Tell me what to do when I'm going to work hard. That would be a good story, because when it comes to Paris, the first season it's like 19 goals and 13 assists. And then every year it's between 12 and 17 goals, and the assist tally maybe goes down a little bit. But he is a generational talent. He has a talent like no others. He's got a football IQ that few people have. Sure, he can be annoying with the way he dribbles and showboats and then falls and dives and all that. But he is a talent that we won't see a lot in our lifetime. So seeing him being a bit wasted is sad. Hopefully, he's only 29 or 30. He could still have a few years for him. Hopefully he finds something that works for him and works for people watching him, instead of wherever you are, everybody say that you're a waste.
Yeah. I think Vegas are going to have an MLS team in a year or two, so that might just love his poker.
Perfect for him. It's just a team. Maybe he can go and play. He can be in the special team in the NFL in Vegas.
Yeah.
Just be the punter and.
Because there's just not many places for him to go, And I said that I can't remember who it was, but the conversation was something to the tune of like, there's rumours that he would maybe retire after the World Cup. But with the Bale transfer just being so fresh in my mind, I just thought, well, sure, maybe he looks across, because him and Bale in some ways are got little parallels to their careers, like
sure.
Because Neymar, as you said, like there was a point in time where Neymar was like, everyone was like, it's Messi, Neymar. Then Ronaldo or whoever else was knocking about. Everyone was Messi, Neymar for about 3 or 4 years. And now, like, Neymar's not in a top 5 for most people on that perception as much as anything, but the ability, the talent's still there. It's the motivation. So It'll be interesting. I don't. I was thinking with Galtier coming in as well. Like it is that kind of do or die for somebody like Neymar because he will just sub him off at half time and stuff like that. Like I could see him doing stuff like that. He, going to his sister's birthday. I think that's in February or something, isn't it? Normally, or
Yep.
it's normally like
Carnaval.
yeah. So
It's when
I
Carnaval
don't.
is on in Rio. It's always when Carnaval is on.
I don't see that going down too well, particularly. So. And so it's an odd one. I just keep thinking as well, like I know you're saying with the perception the PSG fans will have the way the football's been played, whatever. But I think like it's that Conte vibe is what they're after. Someone who like PSG can beat a team 3-0 in the first 30 minutes, but if they're then on top of that coached to be like a machine and regimented, and that's the system you need. I think anyway. They kind of need to get this year if they want to be successful in the Champions League because then they've got all their juices flowing. They're finding all the passes and the shots, and they're winning 4-2 every week and whatever. But the guy that's training them's got them in that zone of like, when it does come to the 90th minute, we're still in a position to be, doing this and doing that if we're against a bigger opponent or the games went against us or down to 10 men, whatever. So
And
I
Galtier
find
is
it
that
really odd.
guy.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Galtier is that guy. Galtier is the guy who's going to tell them to do that. The doubts
Yeah.
are they going to listen? And if they don't listen, what's Galtier going to do about it? And you're right. Like if they don't listen, Galtier will tell in the press that Neymar isn't defending and will sub him at like the half-hour mark and will leave him on the bench for like 2 games in a row or even put him in the stand. He's going to do all that. But then if he's not backed up by the people who put the money into the club, he's going to find himself in a corner, just like Tuchel, just like Emery, just like all those guys who came in and were strong. Tuchel famously was going into the club the first month and picking up the player and saying, "You don't get you go out, you got training tomorrow," all that. But then, like everybody else in Paris Saint-Germain, he eventually had to cave and had to, look like almost a bad coach when we know that he was a tactical genius. So he's the guy who can do this. It's about giving him the ability to do that, and getting the team to buy in on what he says. And 80% of the player will be in, like the Vitinhas who just come in, he'll be in. But a player like Mbappe, a player like Messi, people that know that by playing at 10% of their ability, they can still win Liga. It's that's where it's going to be complicated for him.
I don't know. I would have assumed like Mbappe, certainly of all people, would have been on board if he's like kind of in this string pulling situation he's in. I don't know.
He's
Surely
uh,
he's
he's uh, he's a
surely he's making
very confident and arrogant young man, and so he'll say he's on board, and then if it doesn't work, he'll quickly turn. He's doing it in the French national team, so I'm sure he'll do it at Paris as well.
fair enough. So likelihood of Galtier being in a job at Christmas, let's say, what would you give it?
Oh, that's a fun one. I look, and you know that where my loyalty lies, but I think if Galtier will do well. I think people are going to be surprised. I think he's going to be motivated, like fueled by that whole hatred that he's been hearing for the past 2 weeks. I think he's going to go into every stadium and he's going to get booed in every stadium that he's going to play in, and that's going to add motivation. He's going to probably be booed, but he's on support there for like game one or whatever, and that's going to add motivation. And I think he's going to really do well just because of that. He's going to enjoy being in a situation where people think he's going to fail, and he's going to make sure that the team uses that to be like, hey, they think I'm going to fail. That means you're going to fail. And he's going to like pick their ego because he's great at doing this, because he's a very good man manager. And he's also, from all accounts, a good guy in the locker room to have by your side because he'll go to bat for his players. So I think, I think unfortunately, it looks like a very good season for Paris Saint-Germain with Galtier at the head. I see him still being there, and I see them getting very close to winning it all. But like I said, he'll take 2 losses for him to be in a situation where people are going to ask El Khalafi to make choices.
Likelihood of Neymar starting the season at PSG.
See, as maybe I'm a romantic, but I see it higher than what people want to see. I see him coming back and seeing a change and thinking a little bit with his brain for a second and being like, fuck, there's a World Cup in 5 months. I owe it to my country to be at the best of my ability for the World Cup. I'm going to like put my head down and tell them that I'm going to work hard and to keep me in. Money is not an issue for Paris. The issue is having players who want to fight hard. So I'd be very surprised, if I'm honest with you, if he leaves Paris, because I don't see any other team who can afford him, clearly. And he probably knows that. And instead of being shipped for free to a team where they're going to pay him a lot of money, he's going to have even more pressure and he can fail. I think he'll probably try and convince everybody at Paris that he can stay here, that he can help Mbappe, that he can put himself as a third or fourth fiddle behind everybody else, and that he's going to work hard to try and help Paris Saint-Germain. So I'd say he's going to start with Paris.
Okay. Jeremy, it's been an absolute pleasure, my man. Thanks a lot for your time. Thanks a lot for your insights. Very valuable. And I thank you again.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure, man.
Let's get into all the giveaway stuff before I let you go. I'm still doing monthly giveaways and I'm making it easier to enter. If you want to be entered to win this month's prize or any future giveaways here at the channel, all the same rules will always apply. Hit the subscribe button, you need to be a subscriber to enter, then leave a comment down below. Each month, a random comment from a random video will be selected as the winner, so the more videos you leave a comment on, the better the chance you've got of winning any of my giveaways. All the winners are announced at the end of videos the same way as we're doing here. The best way to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on. As always guys, if you've enjoyed the video today, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. On screen now is some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Stay out of trouble and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye bye.